doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps even lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over, 'cause you're gone. What doesn't kill you makes you...
Chameleon Pens Creations. Well, last weekend, me and my good friend participated in our second annual Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure. Now, we started this last year as kind of a tradition and told each other we would do it every year. One thing we noticed last year is we did see a lot of people that made their own t-shirts, and we really liked that idea. So this year, when it got close to the race, I said, why don't we make our own shirts this time around? I have this new great software that I can design these shirts, we can iron them on, and it was really exciting. So we came up with this design, which is the Saving Boobies is Priceless, which is a play off of the old MasterCard commercials where they would name off items with the real price, but then the true meaning was priceless. We love the idea, so we have the Save Boobies is Priceless with the breast cancer awareness, and then on the back of the shirts we actually did our names and the year we were born. So this is for my friend's little kiddo, Amari Smith, and then he was born in 2008. So let's go ahead and make the front of our shirts. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to download the, if you can see here, this barcode right there. So this is actually a font. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to the internet, and we are going to go to www.dafont.com. When you're there, you want to go ahead and in the search engine look up barcode. And it's this second barcode, which is called the Ink Art. Download that and go ahead and install it. The next thing you want to do is go to the Silhouette online store. And we need to download the breast cancer awareness right here. So this pink ribbon. So in the Silhouette store, if you, under the search engine, just look up breast cancer, or just even breast, actually. It will come up with all the different things. And the one we like here is this awareness ribbon. So we need to go ahead and download that. Once we've done both of those, go ahead and open your Silhouette software. And we need to first set up the page. My printer prints on 8.5 by 11 sheets. So I'm going to go ahead and set it to 8.5 by 11. And now we're ready to do our font. So we're going to select our A over here, our A up there, and make sure we're on our barcode font. We're going to go ahead and type in caps, Priceless. And then you can make them any size. Obviously on the girls' shirts, I did make the logo a little smaller. On my shirt, the logo is a little bigger. For this demonstration, let's go ahead and make it what I made for the girls, which it was 7 inches wide by 5 inches high. All right. And I'm going to make it actually a little bigger. Let's do 8 by 6. Alright, the next thing we want to do is we actually want to go ahead and fill this in with black ink color. And then we want to actually change the line color to black so it gets rid of that red, and make sure it's on a no cut setting. So we have our barcode with the Priceless. The next thing we need to do is add our breast cancer awareness. So if you don't know where you have it, let's say you come to the My Library and you don't know where you have it, you can actually go to the search engine here and put whatever you're looking for. In this case, I'm looking for the breast cancer awareness, and it brings it up. So we'll just double click on that to bring it into session. Let's go ahead and move my barcode out of the way for right now. Now on this here, we do not need both of these. So we're going to ungroup it, and we're going to get rid of this one here. So that leaves this one here. And what I did is I colored these two different pinks. So on the inside of the ribbon, I used the almost highest color of pink, so I guess the second to the top here. And then for around the ribbon, I used the darkest pink, which is this one here. Now, we need to get rid of this little pie shape here, because obviously right now if I was to bring over the Priceless, that little pie there is not going to show through. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a box around it, and we're going to go to this option over here that has a box with an M on it. And we're going to go ahead and do the subtract all option. and that will get rid of that little pie shape right there. Then go ahead and right click and group it so we can move it around. And as you can see, when I bring it over my price list, it's going to show the barcode through the ribbon, which is what we want. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring price list right back into session here. And let's go ahead and bring our mirror where we are, our ribbon. Now, what you want to do to get that ribbon in the center is you actually want to go ahead and draw a box around it. Go to this little option here that has the 3 lines, and we're going to actually want to do a line center, and that's going to line you right where you want it. The last thing we need to do is we need to set up the part that says Saving Boobies. Now, as you can see, my breast cancer awareness I actually have going up a little bit higher on this one, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to click on this. We're going to go to this box here, which is the scale, lock aspect ratio, and right now we're in inches of 4.83 high. So we're going to go ahead and make that 5.5. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and make sure to move it up so it's a little bit right about there. And you can play around with this and do different things and see what shapes you want. So once we have that, we need to do the last thing, which is the Saving Boobies part. Now you can use any font. I went to Dafont.com again, and I got something that is called, let me go down here and scroll, starts, I want to say it's called Once Upon a Pond, or once I see it, I'll be able to tell you. And I just liked it because it was really, really curvy and just real pretty looking. It was called One Starry Night. So we're just going to go ahead and do, and I once again did not do this all in caps. I only did the saving part and then the capital B. So Saving Boobies and then dot, dot, dot. And then you just want to play around until you get to the as big as you like it. So I like it right about there. So I'm going to go ahead and color this with fill with black, get rid of my red lines, and make sure there's no cut settings on it. Alright, and then once again, we want to go ahead and draw a box now around all of it. And then we actually want to go ahead and make sure we're centered. So we're going to go to that same option and hit center, and it's going to automatically center the whole thing for us. Alright, one last check. We just want to make sure that nothing is being cut. I'm not cutting this out. I'm actually just going to print it. Now, I'm ready to go. It is all saved and ready to print with the exception of one thing. When you do the printable transfers, you have to do what's called mirroring of the image. And what that means is you're printing it backwards, so that way when you're ironing it down on your shirt, it's actually the right side. So all you're going to do is you're going to group this by drawing a box, hit group. Once you're grouping it and you're done, you can actually go up to this option here. It looks like it's a circle with all these little lines going through it. And we're going to go ahead and hit mirror right. And it's going to bring an exact copy right there for you. And then the one that we just have, we're going to delete. And we're going to bring over the mirror right. So that way when it prints, it will print just like this. When we actually flip it over and iron it, it will be right side up. So go ahead, send this to your printer, and then let's go ahead and watch how we set that up. Now that we have all of our printing settings set, we need to go ahead and insert our special transfer paper. Now the transfer paper on the light has a purple stripe on one side and nothing on the other side. So when you put this in your printer, you want to make sure it prints on the flat surface side. So in my printer, I'll actually put the purple stripe down. My Canon printer, I'm going to shut that, and then we're actually going to print it. Now keep in mind when this prints on this transfer, the ink stays wet, it never dries, so watch your fingers when you're pulling it out of the printer so you don't touch that. Alright, let's go ahead and print this. Alright, so there is our printed image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut around. One thing to know on these transfer sheets, whatever part you don't cut around or leave to transfer on, it will transfer on a glossy look. I mean, obviously it would be the color of what's under the t-shirt, but I'm going to go ahead and cut around this and much of that off as possible. So let's go ahead and cut this and then we'll be right back to show you the next step. So now that we've printed it, according to the instructions, you want to make sure that you iron this on what they recommend, either a cutting board or a wood block. I wrapped it then in a pillowcase and ironed out the wrinkles there because you want to make sure there's no wrinkles that can transpire on the image either. You want to have your iron ready to go. It needs to be at the on the cotton setting just below the highest setting. No steam, very important there. So you want to have that ready to go. Now on the instructions, they will tell you to wait for this to dry 15-20 minutes. I don't actually do that. I go straight on to the shirt because I found it gives it a much better look. So the key to this is obviously flipping it over and then trying to find out where it would be center. Now the part you want to be careful on this is the ink is wet. So if I push down on it now and try moving it, some of the ink might have gotten on the shirt. So just make sure your first time you put it down, it's pretty much where you want it. So let's go ahead and get this straight where we like it, and then we're going to go ahead and iron it down. Center where I want it. Take a look at we need to go ahead and iron this down. A couple things on the ironing. When you iron, you want to make sure you do it in circle motions, and they quote 15 to 20 seconds. I do put mine on a little longer. So I first just put a even press down the whole thing. And the reason I do this is it actually adheres kind of like a sticker to the shirt. So that way when I start my circle motions, I'm not getting caught up on anything and making any sort of mistakes. Now once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and start in circle motions and count to 20 seconds. Now the big thing on this is you want to make sure you get the edges. When I did my first shirt, I actually had to go back and iron down one of the edges, which actually melted the ink, so then when I pulled it away from the transfer, it pulled up. So very, very important to do the edges. I'll actually leave it alone and without going in a circle motion for a few seconds on the edges just to make sure I have them all down. Of course, you don't want to leave it on there too long. You can still burn the transfer. You can also burn your shirt. So let's go ahead and finish ironing this. Now, the next step when we pull this off, I'll just go and let you guys know now, there's two different ways you can pull your transfer off. The first way is by doing it right after you're done ironing. This will give it more of a matte look and it will not be as shiny. I like to let mine cool all the way and then take it off, and that gives it a nice glossy look. And that's what we're going to do. So when we get back, I'll show you taking the transfer off. So and the front of our shirt, our transfer off, it's been cool. So I start with a spatula. This is the silhouette one. And I'm going to start on the edges here and just get a little piece started. And then just slowly peel up. And I'll do this on every edge so it comes off nice and easy. Now you don't want to leave your transfer on too long. As you can see, this one was left on just a smidge too long, and it will actually start drying to the shirt. And this can ruin your transfer, so be very careful on the length you put it. The longer you leave it on, the glossier it will look. So I am going for more of a glossier look. So we're going to hold the t-shirt down and slowly pull your transfer off. This is the one part of the process you do not want to rush, because if you pull this up and it rips, your whole project is ruined and you have to start over, because the transfer rips. Unfortunately, there's no way to fix it. Alright, so there is the front of the shirt. I'm going to go ahead and now design the back of the shirt. We're going to print this and iron that part down. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be doing to the back of the shirts. The back of the shirts is going to have our name. So it had our first initial period and our last name and the year we were born. So before we do anything, we have to go back to one of my favorite sites on the internet, which is Dafont.com. And we need to look up that varsity font. So if you just search varsity, it's actually the first one. It's called Varsity by Brobun Software. Go ahead and download that and install it into your Silhouette software. Once you've installed it, we are ready to go. Once again, we're going to set up my page, so we want to make sure we're on a 8.5 by 11 paper. We're going to go ahead and pick our font. And we're going to go look for varsity in this list. And then I make sure I did this in caps. And I started off at 144 for the size. And we can, of course, resize that if we need to. So, okay. So before I did anything else, we need to go ahead and get the colors of this. Because if you notice, I have black on the outside and pink on the inside. So this, what I do, first let's zoom in so we have a lot of area we can look at here. First thing we have to do is we have to right-click, ungroup them. And then I also draw a box around it because we also need to release the compound path. Okay? Then what you're going to do is on each of these, you're going to go on the outside of the letter. So you're going to click the furthest out little line and you're going to choose black. And that's going to bring the whole color black. Then you're going to choose the third line or the line that's farthest in. And they're going to do pink on the inside. Sometimes you're going to get it off like I just did there, which is fine. You just want to make sure it's this last one in the middle here. And I will say it did take me a few times to get it. There we go. Just like that. And you're going to do that on everything. So you're just going to go down the line and make sure that you're doing the outside is black and the inside is that pink. And as you can see, it takes me a few times to get because you have to get the one that's furthest in. So for example, like on this one, you start with black. It's easier on the letters. That period I had a problem with the last time too. And you're going to go all the way down. Now, since I'm printing this, we want to make sure we're not cutting the letters. So once again, before we print this, we're going to go into our cut settings and make sure it says that it's just printing. Now, I could have cut this and used transfer paper on the shirts, but I chose not to. Alright, so I'm not going to spend too much time showing you the way to do this. Essentially, once we get to this part and you have all your colors, you're going to go ahead and group it again. So that way when you move it. Now, what I did, the very first thing I did is I wanted to make sure it was going to fit on my shirt. And I wanted it to be as big as possible because we wanted it to be kind of the varsity look to it. So the first thing you need to do is select your thing and we need to mirror it like we did the last time. So we need to go into the one that looks like a circle with all these little pieces in it. It almost looks like a fan. And we want to mirror right and get rid of our old one. And then the next thing is, because I want it much bigger than this, it's not going to fit on the sheet, so we need to rotate it. So we're going to go to the little arrow up here, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. And then I'm going to bring it down as far as I can. Now, once it's down this far, you can actually go ahead and play with the size. And once again, I wanted it to be as big as I possibly could. So I want to go ahead and make the width, let's try 9 inches. You want to be careful, as you can see right there, I didn't lock my aspect ratio. So we want to redo that. Make sure that's locked. And we can go a little bigger. Let's go up to 10 inches. And that's about where I wanted it. Now, the next thing is I wanted to make sure it was 2 inches high. This time I'm not going to lock the aspect ratio because I just want to stretch it. So I'm going to put 2 inches and hit apply. And it just brings it up a little bit. Now, we're going to do the same thing for the number. We're just going to select our font. Anywhere here, we're going to go to, on this one, 144 again. My birthday is 80, so I'm going to go 0 or 80. And then on this one, we're going to increase it pretty large. So we're going to go ahead and do 5 inches high with the locked aspect ratio. And then we're going to play with that here in a little bit more. But same thing like we did on the letters, we're actually going to go ahead and ungroup these. And then we're going to go ahead and release the compound path. And then same thing on the other one. We're going to go ahead and do black on the inside ones. We're going to go ahead and do pink. Now on these ones here, as you can see, it did all of this black. So what you have to do is you have to click on this in one here, and you want to turn that white. And then on the outskirts ones here, you want to do black. Okay? You can do the same thing with the 0. So we're going to do black on the outside. Pink. We're going to make sure we do white. And then we're going to do black. And then once you've done that, once again, what we're going to do, oops, that's why I love my backup button. We're going to go ahead and group that. Now, know that this black is not correct. It should actually be thicker here, but for time's sake, I don't want to keep trying to get it perfect for you. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mirror this. So we want to mirror right, just like we did last time. We want to get rid of the other one. And then once again, we want to rotate this by hitting this. Rotate 90 degrees. And then we're going to zoom out. Now, I want this to be very, very big. It's going to take up a big portion of my shirt, as you can see in the picture. So what I did is I just went to my resizing option, and I just kept going bigger and bigger and bigger until I got to the point that I liked. So I think I ended up doing almost 6 inches. And it's a little too big. The reason why it's too big, and I don't know if you can see this, but right here, do you see how the black goes a little bit fainter? That means it's not going to print. So that would be bad. I don't want that to happen. So we need to go ahead and shrink this down a little bit more. So let's go ahead and do 5.5. Perfect. And then we just want to move it somewhere on here, like this. And then we're ready to print it. Now, once again, I just want to put a disclaimer. I normally would go through and fix all this and make sure it's pink in the middle, but once again, to save time, I didn't want to waste too much time doing that. So, anyways, let's go ahead and send this to the printer. We have my name down there, K. Hess. Now, I put a regular piece of cardstock underneath my name in between the shirt. And the reason why is because your iron is so hot, if you have too much heat transfer through, it will reheat your transfer on the front and it will stick to the pillowcase. So it's very important on the name, I use the sheet of paper. When we do the number below it, I'm actually going to use a book because it's so big. So once again, you just want to make sure it's center, even. We're going to go ahead and start with our ironing. I iron it all the way down at first, just to make sure it doesn't move around when I start doing the circles. And then just go ahead, 15 to 20 seconds. And we're not going to remove this one until we've done the number 2. Reason being is if our iron, when we're doing the number, accidentally hits up on the name, we don't want the heat to actually hit the transfer. It will reheat it up, it will melt, and your shirt is ruined. So let's go ahead and position. I can't stress enough to make sure there is a book or another piece of board between this and your front of the shirt. If not, it will stick to the pillowcase. Happened to me on my first attempt. Luckily it didn't ruin, but it was not a fun experience. So once again, we're just going to go ahead and quickly do a quick iron first just to get it in place. And you'll be able to tell, it kind of gives it a ripple effect when it melts, and then just 20 seconds all over it. These are a real fun shirt to make. It's going towards a great cause, and I've had a lot of compliments on them. So I hope it's as easy and fun for you to design these. The product was amazing, very easy to use, so I highly recommend the June Taylor iron transfers. So when we get back, I will show you how to peel away this last part, and then we have one little bonus feature I'm going to add to the shirt, and we are done. We're going to go ahead and go to each corner here and lift it up, and I like to get it started on both sides. So I have it started down here, and I'm going to slowly take this off. Now the reason you do it slowly is if you do it too fast, the fabric stretches with the iron-on transfer and it will give a ripple effect in your iron transfer. And I experienced this with the first couple of the t-shirts I did, and I had a solution by putting some glitter paint on it, but on this one I don't even think I'll need to worry about it because it came out pretty good. Now we have our 80 we need to do. Same thing again, we're just going to start on the corners. Now the longer you leave it on, the higher of a gloss look you'll get. So this one I haven't left on there too long, so I'm hoping it turns out okay, which it looks fine. So I'm going to start also on the edges over here. And I usually do them around every single edge, just because the edges are what grabs onto your shirt the most. So if your edge is not done properly, the whole transfer will come off with it. So I'll usually go to all the edges and pull them up a little bit on each corner before I pull the whole transfer, and that way I know that it's a nice clean transfer. So we're going to slowly pull this all the way. Once again, I'm going to do the edges. And being slow is the key here. Do not rush this. It will pull away and ruin your project. I can't stress that enough. And then just slowly pull the rest of your transfer off. And we are done. That is the back of the shirt all completed. We're going to add one last step, and we'll be right back to show you that. This, I guess you can say. I went ahead and added some glitter onto the shirt just because it is for breast cancer awareness, and it's for the breast cancer race. So if you've ever been to one of those, people dress up, they have boas on. Some people actually last year even showed up in some gowns and prom attire. So it's kind of more of a fun race just because you're there to support a cause. So I'm adding some washable glitter glue to the back of my name. On the girl shirts that I made, I actually did this also on the breast cancer awareness ribbon on the front. So what you want to do is just go ahead and add this to whatever part you want to, and make sure it dries completely. Now make sure you get glitter glue that can be washed. Little disclaimer, I don't know even if this one's washable. I think it is, but it might come out in the wash. Now, I have already washed one of these shirts in my wash, and I have to say the transfer came out fine. There was no ripping of the transfer or any deterioration, so far so good. So let me go ahead and we'll get this glitter on here and dry, and we'll show you the finished product. Glue dry, and I hope you can see that. And the year was the year I was born, so on the shirts I did these, it was everyone's year they were born. So it turned out pretty good. There is the back, and then the front, which you saw earlier, is all done. So a very fun shirt to make for the Susan G. Komen Race for a Cure, which I'll be doing tomorrow. Wanted to make a little personalized shirt. Very easy. I recommend to everyone who has not used this before, definitely use it. It was very easy to do, very easy to iron on and print using my CAMEO silhouette software. So thanks everyone for checking out today's entry. I hope to make a video soon and hope everyone can get out there and race for a cure.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.